You could do a 0622
There's
reference.
yeah, 0622.
Here's who's coming up on the show this morning with Shawn Gumataotao. That's it. That's all podcast. Focusing on, good morning. Hi, Facebook Live. Focusing on the gubernatorial election.
Ooh.
And the title of his next episode is Who Will Be the Next Governor of Guam? That sounds juicy already. Right? If we could just
Shawn's seen a few gubernatorial elections in
a couple
his day from both sides of the microphone.
Right. Shawn, good morning, my friend.
Hey, good morning, guys, and good morning to all those that are listening and watching all over the world. So, yep, it's that's what the title is, and that's what that podcast is about. Yeah, getting into the second season, which is good.
Well, yeah. Shawn makes his home in Talafofo, but we also know, Shawn, you're representing Bakersfield, California, too.
Oh, yeah, that, San Leandro, you name it. But yeah, all Talafofo all the time now.
The home of corn.
California, I remember that. Is what we call it. It's 6:24. Shawn, so we're excited to find out more about this episode. Good morning, my friend.
Hey, good morning, Chris. And yeah, the episode is focused. Yes, you know, I just had to go back. So when I think this year, as we do the 2022 elections, will be I want to say I'm into at least over a decade plus doing political analysis for KWM. And so this wouldn't be unexpected, if you will.
Right.
To look at the gubernatorial election and what it means, and especially this far out and what we can expect maybe even issue-wise. So yeah, it was, I'd been going to a lot of different places, trying not to with all this COVID stuff, but everywhere I've been going, people are asking, and who are listening to the podcast saying, hey, when are you going to talk about the governor's race? And I said, I don't know, maybe now?
Yeah,
why not?
It's kind of hard to talk about the governor's race because as it stands right now, it doesn't even look like we have a race.
Well, I think it's a little early, but the talk is happening. And right before we came on, we were talking how if you go through the villages, they're already huddling up in villages, village org meetings. Right. They're reaching out via phone. They're doing all their databases are getting lined up. So if for a bunch of folks that don't seem like they're getting ready for a gubernatorial election, they are getting ready for a gubernatorial election.
Yeah, we've been talking about it. So I know that the Lujan campaign, I mean, they have been organizing all the last year, you know what I mean? So they're definitely got a head start.
Yep.
But on the Republican side, what I've been seeing is a lot of pictures, posts with the senatorial, what I'm presuming are going to be senatorial candidates. So I know the focus is kind of, to me, outside looking in, looks like it's going to be on taking the majority in the legislature.
Right, and it was, I mean, in all fairness to the Republican Party, as they are trying to find a candidate, I think that's the struggle, is to find that person they can contrast against the sitting governor of Guam. And podcast goes into a little bit of those details and who I think, and based on the discussions I've had, kind of like what might be the slates. But again, we're so early, and always still makes for great radio and great podcasting for sure.
Yeah, so Frank Blas Jr. was the name that we've been hearing about the most. I also heard Tony Atta. I don't know if that was as a first or a second or just, a conversation. But it kind of seems like the Republicans are really banking on a Democrat running to help them out and Delegate Mike St. Nicholas. It almost seems like the play would be if Delegate Mike St. Nicholas runs, and then if he loses the primary, then they're going to do that whole they go vote on the Republican side. And I mean, it is what it is, right?
Yeah, and structurally, to put together a group of people to be able to not only raise the kind of money that you'll need to run against a sitting incumbent governor, but you're going to definitely need the kind of resources to be able to get to all of the 19 villages over the course of the next 11 months. Plus, you're in a pandemic. Yeah. So you need to have someone who might be just a smidgen more savvy on how to deal with reaching to people and getting them at this time while pretty much we're all at home in our bubbles.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why I feel like you got to give credit, I guess, is that the right word, to the Lou and Josh campaign, because it has been a pandemic, but they really never missed a beat. I mean, they're a village organization. I've been getting so many pictures of all their different village meetings with the cast of the cabinet characters. So they definitely have a head start. And I know what you're saying about Mike St. Nicholas, right? So when you You just think the name, right? Congressman Mike Nicholas, he has definitely a lot of very, very loyal, over loyal, maybe, supporters. But you're right, the village organization. Does that matter though, Shawn? I think that people would ask, does it matter if you have a big name like, Mike Nicholas?
Absolutely, it matters. You need to be able to get out the vote on both the primary and general election days. So and have been part of that. So it's a numbers game. If you know who's there and they're coming out, and you're able to find out how many people came and who came, in fact, you would have did it based on what you saw. Are these people for us? Are they against us? Did you get them to cross over? That kind of strategy is going to be done at the village level, absolutely. And because the village level will translate into all those precincts coming big for their candidates. So the village organizations and the village tactical campaign is absolutely one of the most important things that would be facing any campaign for governor today.
Shawn, have you seen an election like this in that we have a clear, well, the incumbent obviously, but where it's January and we have no clue who's running on the other side of the aisle?
I think it's been a while. I can't recall in my time covering the gubernatorial races obviously for KOAM in my career and working in the executive branch. I don't think I've seen this ever before. And that's what makes the race in 2022 that much more interesting, right? Because now we're looking at things that we haven't seen. There's some other bigger issues out there, but you're right. It's just a different way of looking at it. Or will they launch? They might wait. You never know. They might launch tomorrow as we're sitting here talking about it. The campaigns are gearing up, and they need to be able to, put their ear to the ground and say, hey, is this the right time to do it? There's they go minus from the primary up to, let's say, January, and then they take it from there. So yeah, it's going to take a special person that's going to look at it all out. In 11 months, it's going to be a pretty tough chore.
Shawn, Frank Blas Jr., right? I know he has his supporters, especially with the Monomco because of his efforts with the war claims, and
he's also got the pedigree of his legacy.
Yeah. But is he a big enough name to hold down a number one spot on a gubernatorial ticket?
I mentioned it in a podcast. You can listen.
Okay, he's like, don't give it all away. All right, Shawn,
that's a hell of a tease, man.
Yeah, hang on, Shawn. Okay, we're going to do the news, and then we'll get back to you and play the clip and all that.
Okay.
Oh, great. Good morning. It is 6:31. Coming up on the show, Dr. Ho Wen, the former Physicians Advisory Group chair on the Omicron surge. He listened to our Info Zoom with Nestor Lecanto and Dr. Nathaniel Berg. He's got some very different opinions on this surge, so we'll go in with him. Also, UOG Press, Jay, they're launching this Leadership Journal of Micronesia, Volume 1.
Yeah, really, really cool book. You actually, they dropped off a copy. They were very, very generous to show, and it's former cadets, and I know when they actually talk a lot about many of our people who have served, and kind of like some of the roles they play now in leadership, having honorably retired from military service, and kind of like the legacy they leave behind. Speaking of pedigree,
right? And so we're gonna get a couple of we'll get the co-editor and then a former cadet who wrote a piece on Father Dueñas. So that's coming up. Also, Catholic Social Services. It's a 3-day weekend. Is it a Guam holiday?
I believe so.
Right. Yeah. So Martin Luther King.
I'm getting all these emails from all our vendors and services. It's like, hey, FYI,
we're closed.
Call center's going to be open, but salespeople are out.
So they're doing a MLK Day of Service. So we're going to go in with Lisa Berdalio and Terry Mortero, who's the Guma San Jose program manager. We're going to catch up with my buddy Big Ben Nangalta. He's still in the hospital, guys, but making a recovery from a heart attack and COVID-19. And there is a GoFundMe that we're trying to share out there. If you guys could donate a little bit to help with those hospital bills. Also, Jay, a little something different this morning at Cannababe on Instagram. She's an aspiring entrepreneur. As we kind of wait for the rules and the regulations for the adult use cannabis to, it's interesting because I thought they were at the legislature, but we had the speaker on. She said they haven't received them yet. And so what you see, especially on Instagram, if you guys kind of just surf around, is you see a lot of people kind of getting ready, right? And maybe tweaking out, or maybe tweaking isn't the right word, figuring out what they're going to be doing in the event that we do, when the rules and regs go into place. And so is it going to be an opportunity for small business people to kind of get in on this? That's when we talk with Senator Clint Ridgell on the Chronicles podcast. That's kind of what he said, was that it like entry level, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, maybe just a leg, but not an arm and a leg, to kind of get a foot into this cannabis industry. So.
Have you seen that meme that's going around? It's like, if you're thinking about starting up a dispensary, dispensa.
Yeah, hold on, because the rules aren't ready yet.
Yeah, exactly.
At 6:34. Then, of course, on Fridays, we do Feed Me Fridays. We got Sports Link, One Microneedle podcast with Victorious Fallon. He interviews Carney Rimmers and Joe Bod Silk, two up-and-coming Marshall Islands creatives who share their secrets of seeing the world different and turning their inspiration into art. At 6:34, Pacific Points presents our first look at the news here. Jay, we did have a comment here about T-Zen testing. Is it full for today?
Let me
just go ahead and read this comment here, guys. I know they are having issues because a friend of mine messaged me that she had gone to go get tested, still hasn't received the results, was supposed to receive them yesterday or Wednesday. So I don't know if there's a backup or anyway, so we'll figure it out. It is what it is. But Rosemary, who's a trusted Link listener, comments in here, wondering if there are others who have encountered problems at the T-Zen testing site. My daughter on Wednesday registered online for a testing schedule. She received an email confirmation showing her appointment would be 10:30 to 11 o'clock the next morning. She lined up at the appropriate time, and an employee informed my daughter that she was not on the list and to come back at 1 p.m. as a walk-in. My daughter explained that she had registered, but the employee explained the testing was full at noon. The employee quipped it was closed at 8 a.m. and quickly walked away. I did call Jake and left a message requesting name and contact number as to who is in charge of the website at Public Health. Never received a call back. Oh, yeah, okay. I wanted the answers to how this happened and who is responsible and forgetting to train this employee on customer. Are we really looking for customer service from the government of Guam still, guys?
Okay, well, you asked the question, Chris, and so today and tomorrow, so if you go to tinyurl.com/COVID stops with me, you have to make an appointment like Chris was just saying, but today and tomorrow, fully booked for the T-Zen testing site.
Yeah, Shawn, I want to bring you in because I know that you have done some consulting work with public health here and in the NMI, but this pivot, man, was a crazy pivot. So last week, they were testing 3 hours a day. The governor had come out and said they were going to increase testing hours, which they did. They actually doubled it to 6 hours, but they instituted this appointment system. And then I think in the afternoon, they entertained limited walk-ins. And I don't know if it's just anecdotal, but just people have been complaining about this system. We just had that comment there, right? And in the middle of a surge, well, not even the middle, I think we're still at the beginning, right? So Omicron, obviously testing is a huge component in trying to keep a handle on this thing. And so when you wake up, if you're trying to go make an appointment to get tested and you find out it's fully booked today, tomorrow, it was fully booked yesterday, what kind of message does that send, Shawn? And is there a way we could do it better?
As in all fairness to the situation and to across the region, I mean, I think that we all can agree that tactically it's having to adjust to the realities of this pandemic. So right now, when we're starting to see large numbers of test positivity, people are going to go out and make that move to get tested. I think at last count, I was just trying to find out some details earlier, but I think so of the eligible population, Guam is now at 92.97% vaccinated. So when you think about that number against what we have who may be unvaccinated at this time, and there's a lot of things a lot of moving parts that are going to help decide how the operations of the testing, the vaccination sites, isolation, quarantine, all of it is going to be, it's going to pretty much emerge on a day-to-day basis. And it's not just happening here, but it's happening in the CNMI. It's also happening in American Samoa as well. So across the United States, affiliated Pacific Islands, including the FSM, Palau, and the like, there's there's a big move for everyone to adjust to the realities of today. It's hard to plan for what we think might be an Omicron variant in our community, but it's harder to predict behavior. especially in the pandemic. And so all of the countries and the territories are all having to make that pivot and pivot hard to adjust to what is this current reality that we're all facing today.
Let me ask you, did it have to be a hard pivot? Because, I mean, if you pay attention, and Lord knows I hope our leaders pay attention, Omicron was in the news for, a couple months before it got to Guam. And the governor had gone on the record and said that she was acting as if Omicron was already here, but other than the vax and the booster efforts, I'm not sure if we saw any additional preparations. And now it's here, and we're sold out testing.
Well, I mean, so again, going back to that idea that, okay, what is the plan? But it's all about what we're seeing. And across all those three communities I talked about, everyone should go out and get vaccinated. Make sure that if you're feeling sick, go get tested. And then obviously the most important thing for all of us is to kind of look at the entire issue in totality. Keep your distance, wash your hands, and again, wear that mask. Nothing has really changed, but we have to watch as a community what's happening across the region. Across the Pacific, the Omicron variant is taking hold. It's being reported across, from as far as Fiji into Papua New Guinea. It's being reported all across the region. And so it would probably be smart for all of us to keep close eye on what's happening and to prepare accordingly. That is not helping, for example, maybe our tourism industry and rebooting it. It's not helping certain things. But, if I can say on behalf of even my own family and my friends, again, get vaccinated, and be mindful of those three things. Wash your hands, watch your distance, and please, cover your face if you can. Wear that mask.
Shawn, we had a comment here. Our good friend F. Glenn Lujan comments in, I have many friends getting sick. Stay safe, everyone. And I got to agree. Yes. I know a lot of people who are just incidentally, texting, oh, man, had to go get tested. Kids had it. And it's a lot. I mean, even people that I'm trying to book for the show for next week are like, oh, I got to cancel because we just had we had an exposure in the family. So, I mean, it's everywhere. And if you think about the testing, right, and if people are turned off about having to make an appointment or thinking that they're going to get turned away, I mean, we are reporting high number of positives, but like a lot of the doctors say, that's just a little snapshot of what's really out there. And so if we have like the 400 something positives, I mean, if you imagine what's really out there, it's kind of right.
Chris, one of the things is a concept that happened during in our lead up many years ago to either a strategic national stockpile type of issue or any kind of outbreak or maybe looking at weapons of mass destruction type of incident. But when people hear these things, the healthcare facilities get flooded with what's called the worried well. And so what people are perfectly healthy. These people are doing everything to stay away. They're doing their things, but they're hearing about what's happening. They might hear an exposure. And then they're also putting a strain on those systems. I mean, if you are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and the CDC recommends it, and I know that all of the PAG and everyone else is saying it, if you're feeling the symptoms, go get tested. And if you do get tested and you happen to be negative, well, keep making those precautions and, take care of yourself. But if you are positive, make sure you follow all the recommendations of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and protect our community. And everyone else, make sure you get vaccinated. And there's not very many people left that need to get it. But we got to get them started. My friends in the CNMI, I think as of yesterday, their vaccination rate, Chris, is now 97.3%. I think that's the number. Wow. I mean, the contrast between what's happening here and there. American Samoa is not so. They're like maybe in the 70 and 80% range. But we need to do those things together as a community and protect everyone.
Shawn, thank you. Okay, now let's do the news. Brought to you by Pacific Points. It's our first look at news on this Friday morning. In for Sabrina Salas-Matanati with the very latest. Jason Salas, good morning, my friend.
All right, here's an abbreviated version of the news. We want to make sure we can get to all of our guests, tell you about Shawn's podcast. We got Ben Nangauta coming up. So Guam is in mourning this Friday as our community's 274th COVID-related fatality is a 66-year-old female that was partially vaccinated and pronounced dead on arrival at Naval Hospital on January 11th. She tested positive the same day. As far as the COVID case count, 423 new cases of COVID-19 were reported yesterday. from what I believe is a record high number of tests, 3,286 tests analyzed on January 12th. That's a test positivity rate of about 12.8%. So as far as the positives, it is slightly down from the previous day. Of those new cases, I beg your pardon, 2,934 cases are actively isolating right now. 18 people have been admitted to the hospital, 11 at GMH and 7 at GRMC. 2 people are in the ICU. 10 of those are vaccinated, 8 are unvaccinated. As far as the spread in GDOE, that agency confirmed 21 COVID cases involving students and 3 staffers tested positive for COVID. Disinfecting of the areas and campuses took place to ensure that those affected schools, you can go to KUM.com to see which schools did report positive tests, and that they will be ready for regular hours today. All right, of course, we want to thank our friends at Pacific Points for always giving you the link update news, giving you the very freshest island news headlines. Of course, you can find everything on KUM.com, but thanks to our friends at Pacific Points. Pacific Points, do more and get more. And we start with our very first story, as the Animal Wellness Action organization yesterday is calling for a DOJ investigation into a cockfighting video that the organization says shows a Department of Agriculture commodities inspector engaging in illegal bird fighting.
Wayne Pacelli of Animal Wellness Action in a press conference today showed members of the media a video the group obtained from a confidential source.
That features a law enforcement officer working for the Guam Department of Agriculture. So it's deeply troubling to me that any law enforcement officer would be involved in illegal animal fighting. But it's even more troubling to me that it's a law enforcement officer with the Department of Agriculture, the agency that's been allowing thousands of fighting birds onto Guam and enabling cockfighting there.
Pacelli says after independent verification of the video is made, he'll forward it to the Department of Justice and call for an investigation. During a press conference today, Pacelli also continued to call out the Department of Ag for shipments of roosters coming into Guam.
The vast majority of the birds that have come to Guam are roosters, adult roosters, and there's no legitimate industry.
AWA says over 11,000 cocks have been shipped to Guam in the last 5 years. He again called on Department of Ag Director Chelsea Munya-Brecht to do something about it.
She should not be creating more cockfighting chaos on Guam, and that's what's been happening.
Pacelli said the animal rights group has been getting a lot of tips from the local community on island.
And I've been hearing from many Guamanians on this issue.
Animal Wellness has consistently called on the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration to stop turning a blind eye to cockfighting, which was banned in federal law, and that federal law has survived numerous legal challenges.
4 federal courts, plus the Supreme Court, have issued decisions or orders on this issue. Every case has been resolved in favor of the United States and its authority to forbid cockfighting and related animal fighting activities in every part of the United States.
For Guam's News Network, Chris Barnett reports.
And we have another story for you about animals on the island, as it's no secret that our community has a stray animal problem. But your municipal leaders are saying enough is enough, and the mayors have said exactly that. But now Guam Animals in Need spoke about the known issue and what could be done about it.
During a recent monthly meeting held on Zoom, the Mayor's Council of Guam discussed wanting Guam Animals in Need, better known as GAIN, to accept more stray animals that they are taking off the streets. A PD resident getting bit by a stray dog prompted village mayor and MCOG president Jesse Alec to call on the animal shelter in Jigo to expand its capacity if space is an issue. GAIN executive director Allison Hadley responded to the call.
We completely empathize with, the mayors and what they're going through. We understand that our capacity is a roadblock for them sometimes. I mean, it's a roadblock for us as well, depending on the situation. And so, there isn't a whole lot to say other than, a lot of the same things that we've said in the past. It really comes down to the funding and all of that, which we are in the process of receiving.
About $450,000 has been allocated by the 36th Guam legislature to the Department of Agriculture to address the island's stray animal population problem by spaying and neutering, as well as expanding GAIN shelter capacity by constructing new kennels.
It's just that we have not begun receiving that money yet. So I don't have the funds to to take those first steps. I know that Department of Agriculture is working on getting that ready to go so that we can utilize it and begin the first steps of expanding our capacity, which of course, even if I have the money today, I won't have more kennels tomorrow necessarily. So it will take time. So we just, we hope that everybody can understand that, it's something that's going to take time, but it is in the works, and it's something that's very much at the forefront of our minds constantly.
Currently, Gain has 54 dog kennels that can fit about 2 to 3 dogs. Hallie noted that they have also partnered with the Boonie Flight Project to help with the island's stray animal population of 40 to 60,000 dogs and cats.
My response is that we are doing the best that we can, and we are following proper guidelines, but while also still trying to be respectful of the animal's life.
If you would like to support and help move Gain's mission forward, you can call 671-653-4246. Reporting for Guam's News Network, Wahusi Isaiah Uggan.
All right, we move on in our rundown now, as nearly 1,000 people on Guam are experiencing homelessness, but Sinanya Mayor Robert Hoffman posed quite the innovative idea to help those on the island return to their loved ones.
According to a 2020 statistic, the United States Interagency Council on Homelessness reported that almost 800 people on Guam are experiencing homelessness. Sinahanya Mayor Robert Hoffman posed an idea to help those on island.
We've come across quite a few homeless that do want to be reunited with their family members off island. Some of them don't have any more family here. They're the last ones here. They just don't have the means to go. And we know many of them.
Through the generosity of individuals, they have been able to reunite homeless people with their family off island. The outcome is undeniable.
And they're thriving. When we do follow-ups, just find out where they're at. They're with their sister, they're with their aunts, they're with their brother, and they're doing so much better. They're off substance abuse. They're in treatment programs. They've graduated treatment programs. They actually have stable jobs. And so we know that when you have that support system around them, they do better.
The government here on Guam has a mileage bank specifically used for medical travel. Mayor Hoffman requested access to this bank to benefit homeless people. According to Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio, this is a possibility, but will need to go through the legislature.
Basically, what I think what needs to happen is we need the legislature to amend the statute and allow authorized use for the mileage program for homeless individuals. It could be certified by the coalition or through our process, right, with the OHAP, to go and utilize the mileage program for their reunification off island and I think their stabilization.
At this time, Mayor Hoffman plans to make a motion for the interagency to make a recommendation to the legislature. This would give access to the mileage bank. The next meeting will take place on Thursday, February 10. Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Hannah Devonzo.
And finally this morning, home confinement with a pair of third-party custodians were the conditions to be met in order for 22-year-old murder defendant John Maliaga to be released from the Department of Corrections.
Home confinement with 2 third-party custodians. Those were the conditions to be met in order for 22-year-old murder defendant John Maliaga to be released from the Department of Corrections. His release was met with opposition from the government, but defense counsel Bryson Brazil wasn't having it.
Mr. Maliaga has done everything the court has asked of him. The electronic monitoring program was created so that people who are deemed a high risk or who would otherwise be incarcerated are afforded the opportunity to be incarcerated at a home while they are pending trial. And he's gone through all of the necessary steps, Your Honor. The family is in the courtroom, willing to take him in. He will be on a strict house arrest. He understands that. I don't think there's any more hurdles, Your Honor.
The court sided with the defense and placed him on a $25,000 personal recognizance bond. He's also been ordered to have no contact with anyone involved in the case, along with the victim's family. He will be released on Friday at 1 p.m. and will be staying at a home in Talafofo. His co-defendant Fiatagaluia Aki has been on house arrest in Jigo. Aki faces manslaughter and aggravated assault, while Maliaga faces murder, aggravated assault, and 2 counts of assault as a misdemeanor. The pair were indicted for the October 2021 death of 23-year-old Jaron Wabacker, who was killed after an altercation broke out at King's Restaurant in Tamuning. Maliaga's next hearing will be heard before Judge Alberto Tolentino. The date is to be announced.
All right, and of course, your link update headlines always brought to you right here on the show by our friends at Pacific Points, where you can do more, get more, and we thank Pacific Points for sponsoring the link headlines. And let's go now back into the KUM News Zoom room, where Shawn has more thoughts on the upcoming gubernatorial race.
Right on, Shawn. So we got this clip here from That's It, That's All. It's on the KUAM podcast network, and we'll go ahead and play this. Good morning.
With the new year comes the increasing chatter about the race for the governor of Guam. With less than 11 months until the first ballots are cast, there isn't a resident I have spoken with in my travels from Dededo to Jotnya that didn't spend a minute talking about who should be given the next 4 years to lead the executive branch of the government of Guam. There are plenty who are wanting to share what the current administration is doing and what they believe the office of the governor should be doing for the 160,000 residents of this American community. It seems at times this conversation is not a new one. Plenty of opinions are out there on shortcomings, cabinet and staffing picks, and policy wins and losses. I often think as these conversations are happening, if these conversations were in fact rehearsed. What I am hearing for sure from voters is a passion for our island. I hear voices that appear on the surface of not being heard. I have received more messages than not that there are better days ahead. When the talk of what has been an up and down 4 years for this island society, folks can be very quick to place blame on the one place where they think life's issues can be solved, at least made a bit easier for each of us. Today, the current governor of Guam, Lujan Guerrero, is at the center of that talk. She has a big task ahead of her, as Governor Lujan Guerrero is entering the 4th and final year of her first term. Newsrooms are dusting off her campaign platform and checking to see if under her leadership, all the promises made before and since entering office are being done for the people of Guam. There are some in her party, the Democratic Party of Guam, that don't seem so impressed by the work over the last 4 years, though a majority are all in. Collectively, they are all trying so hard to be sure the titular head of the party hangs on to this important seat.
There you go, Shawn. Juicy stuff, my friend.
It's a little teaser to get everyone to check out That's It, That's All. Again, you can check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Amazon Music. And again, we're also on the iHeartRadio app and on Pandora. So if anyone is wanting, they can check out the podcast. It is, again, kind of at the request of folks have been kind of like, hey, when are you going to do this? And well, why not? As we head into the second season of That's It, That's All.
Yeah, so is now the time to talk about politics? I remember we tried to ask the Adeloop about the election, and they said, we are responding to a pandemic right now.
I think that is a foregone conclusion with 11 months to go. And from experience now, I'm just saying that on both sides of it, from where you were sitting, Chris, and then on the other side where they are sitting today, it is game on, and has been game on for quite a while now.
Yeah. Shawn, I did this thing on my personal Instagram account where the people do it on social media. Like, hey, ask me a question. And it was funny because one of the questions I got was, let me just pop it up here, and I guess we'll go ahead and try and answer it now. And it was relative to, well, here it is. Why are the governor and her cabinet members very quiet about the recent surges here in our island?
Let me shrug my shoulders for your radio audience.
Right. But do you see that, Shawn? Do you think that, again, I mean, this has been, we've been talking about this, it seems like, since the Delta surge, before the Delta surge. Where is that presence, right?
I think I always, and I've been, just to be fair to everyone involved, it's just about trying to be realistic and reassuring with your messaging. And if it's there, then things and these questions wouldn't come up, or they'd come up and might be a little bit more critical. But yeah, I'm with you. I feel kind of the same way, but again, I shrug my shoulders. I'm not sure.
Thank you, Shawn.
Thanks, guys. And again, thanks for, all the support of the KYM Podcast Network. And if you guys aren't listening to it, listen to it. There's a lot of great programs on there. And, I'm absolutely, the podcast is so proud to be part of it. So
thank you.
Listen in.
Yeah, we're getting.
All right, guys, have a great day.
I did a couple episodes with Paulie Eric Forbes this week, and so we're going to be. I want to thank him for jumping on the KWM Podcast Network, but he's going to be in his podcast, Elect Nancy Paulie.
Wow.
It's going to be historical, humorous, cultural, and a lot on the Chamorro language. So it's really good.
I know you're all those things, Chris, but Paulie Eric too is all those things as well. So it's exciting. I'm really excited to hear that one.
He's
Awesome.
a whole level up, brother. Thank you, Shawn. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a great one.
Okay, a 3-day weekend. Martin Luther King Day. Jay, so the testing, it's sold out for today, guys, according to the website.
Today and tomorrow, the